What happens when a 28-year-old personal injury lawyer mocks a wheelchair-bound accident victim in open court, laughing at her disability while claiming she's faking her injuries for money? This arrogant attorney named Liam Bellingham walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with a $10,000 briefcase, designer suit, and the belief that his law degree made him untouchable. But when he made one fatal mistake, actually laughing out loud as the disabled plaintiff struggled to reach the witness stand, Judge Judy's reaction became the most explosive moment in courtroom television history. The defendant stood there with his Armani suit and Patek Philippe watch, smirking as he told Judge Judy that his client, Patricia Henderson, was probably exaggerating her paralysis for a settlement payout. The entire courtroom fell silent. But what nobody knew was that Liam Bellingham was about to destroy his entire legal career in the next 15 minutes, and his contemptuous laugh would cost him everything he'd spent 6 years building. And the consequences Judge Judy was about to deliver would become a case study in law schools across America, proving that some lawyers forget the most important lesson: compassion isn't optional in the practice of law. Before we dive into this incredible story, less than 5% of you watching are actually subscribed. If you believe in standing up for the disabled, protecting victims, and holding powerful people accountable, hit that subscribe button right now. What you're about to witness will restore your faith that justice still exists. This lawyer has no idea what's about to hit him. It's a Thursday afternoon in Judge Judy's courtroom, and what seems like a straightforward personal injury case is about to become something much more significant. At the plaintiff's table sits Patricia Henderson, a 52-year-old former elementary school teacher from Brooklyn. She's positioned her wheelchair carefully at the stand, her hands resting on the armrests, her face showing the quiet dignity that comes from 27 years of teaching children and a lifetime of service to her community. Patricia taught second grade at PS 321 in Park Slope, where she was beloved by students, parents, and faculty alike. She spent her weekends volunteering as a reading tutor for struggling students, and she raised 2 kids as a single mother while never missing a day of work. 8 months ago, everything changed. On March 15, Patricia was driving home from parent-teacher conferences around 8:30 in the evening. She was stopped at a red light on Flatbush Avenue, probably thinking about her students, maybe planning the next day's lessons. That's when Jonathan Hayes, a 34-year-old insurance company executive, ran a red light at 50 miles per hour while texting his girlfriend. He T-boned Patricia's driver's side door with such force that her Toyota Camry spun twice before crashing into a streetlight. Patricia woke up 3 days later in Kings County Hospital unable to feel her legs. The doctors delivered the news that would shatter her world. Severe spinal cord damage. Permanent paralysis from the waist down. Her teaching career, gone. Her independence, gone. Her life as she knew it, completely transformed in 3 seconds of someone else's negligence. The medical bills started immediately, climbing past $340,000 for emergency surgery, intensive care, rehabilitation, physical therapy, and the wheelchair she now depends on for mobility. Jonathan Hayes admitted fault at the scene. The police report clearly stated he was texting while driving. Traffic camera footage showed him running the red light. There was zero question about liability. But then the insurance companies got involved. Hayes worked for Consolidated National Insurance, one of the largest insurance providers in America, and they had their own team of lawyers whose job was simple: deny, delay, defend. They paid Patricia's immediate emergency room bills, then declared that all further claims were questionable, unverifiable, and probably exaggerated. They offered her $500 to settle and go away. When Patricia refused, they assigned their case to Liam Bellingham, a 28-year-old defense attorney at Whitman & Associates, one of Manhattan's most aggressive corporate defense firms. Liam graduated top of his class at Columbia Law School. He'd won 47 out of 50 cases in his 6-year career. He specialized in personal injury defense, which meant his job was to protect insurance companies and corporations from paying victims what they deserved. He was good at it, ruthlessly good. His annual salary was over $400,000, and he wore his success like armor: expensive suits, luxury watches, imported briefcases, and an attitude that screamed, "I'm smarter than everyone in this room." When Liam met Patricia during pre-trial mediation, he treated her with open contempt. He looked at her wheelchair and said, "You're probably faking half those injuries for a payday." When she tried to explain her medical situation, he interrupted her. "Save the sob story for someone who cares. I've seen 1,000 people like you trying to get rich off minor accidents." Patricia's son, who had accompanied her to the meeting, started recording on his phone when Liam's behavior became outrageous. The video captured Liam telling Patricia, "Enjoy living in that wheelchair you probably don't even need. I'll see you in court, and when I'm done with you, you'll wish you'd taken that $500. The video went viral within hours. Over 2.4 million views in 3 days. Local news picked it up. Disability rights advocates organized protests outside Whitman and Associates. The public outrage was so intense that Consolidated National Insurance forced the case into Judge Judy's courtroom for what they called public accountability, though everyone knew it was really about damage control. Now, Liam Bellingham walks into Judge Judy's courtroom like he's entering a Starbucks, casual, distracted, slightly annoyed at the inconvenience. He's wearing an $8,000 Armani suit in charcoal gray, his hair slicked back with expensive product, his crocodile leather briefcase landing on the defendant's table with a loud thud that makes everyone turn. He checks his Patek Philippe watch, a $45,000 timepiece that costs more than most people make in a year, and barely acknowledges Bailiff Bird when he enters. Liam doesn't believe Judge Judy's court is real law. He sees it as entertainment, small claims nonsense for people who can't afford real attorneys. He's only here because his firm's partners forced him to clean up the PR nightmare he created. When Judge Judy enters, everyone in the courtroom stands except Liam. He's looking at his phone, scrolling through emails, completely oblivious or deliberately disrespectful, it's hard to tell which. Judge Judy notices immediately. Her eyes lock onto him like a laser sight. "Mr. Bellingham," Judge Judy's voice cuts through the courtroom like a blade. "You're a lawyer. You should know better than to treat my courtroom like a subway platform. Stand up when I'm talking to you." Liam looks up from his phone, his expression showing mild surprise that someone is actually correcting him. He stands slowly, leisurely, like he's doing Judge Judy a favor. "Your Honor, I apologize. I assumed we were keeping this informal given the, venue." The word venue drips with condescension, and everyone in the courtroom hears it. Judge Judy's eyes narrow dangerously. "The venue is my courtroom, and I've been a judge longer than you've been alive. Try again." Liam straightens his tie, putting on his professional face. "Of course, Your Honor. My apologies. It's not a real apology. It's the kind of empty courtesy that lawyers deploy when they're annoyed but trying to appear respectful." Judge Judy sees right through it, but she decides to let him hang himself with his own arrogance. She's dealt with thousands of lawyers over 3 decades on the bench, and she can spot the dangerous combination of intelligence without wisdom, education without character. Judge Judy turns her attention to Patricia Henderson, and her entire demeanor shifts. Her voice becomes warmer, more gentle. "Ms. Henderson, tell me what happened on March 15th, Patricia takes a deep breath, steadying herself. The memory is clearly painful, but she speaks with clarity and composure. "Your Honor, I was driving home from parent-teacher conferences at PS 321 where I used to teach 2nd grade. It was about 8:30 in the evening, and I was stopped at a red light on Flatbush Avenue near the intersection with Atlantic. I was just sitting there, probably thinking about my students, when suddenly there was this incredible impact. Everything went white. I heard metal crushing, glass shattering, and then I was spinning. My car hit a streetlight and everything went dark." Patricia's voice wavers slightly, but she continues. "I woke up 3 days later in Kings County Hospital. I couldn't feel my legs. I kept trying to move them, trying to wiggle my toes, anything, but there was nothing. Just nothing. The doctors told me I had severe spinal cord damage from the impact. They said the paralysis was permanent." She gestures to her wheelchair. "This is my life now, Your Honor. I can't teach. I can't walk. I can't do the things I used to do. And the person who did this to me, his insurance company is saying I'm exaggerating. Judge Judy reviews the medical records in front of her, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks up at Liam. Mr. Bellingham, I've reviewed the traffic camera footage. Your client ran a red light while texting. The police report confirms fault. The liability here is crystal clear. Your insurance company is denying this claim, why? Liam stands, and his entire posture radiates condescension. Your Honor, with all due respect, my client's insurance company has paid for Ms. Henderson's immediate medical expenses. We covered the emergency room, the initial surgery, the ambulance transport. What she's claiming now, permanent disability, loss of income, emotional damages, pain and suffering, these are all highly subjective and, frankly, unverifiable. Judge Judy's voice becomes sharper. Unverifiable. She's in a wheelchair, Mr. Bellingham. How much more verification do you need? Liam actually smiles, like he's about to explain something obvious to someone who just doesn't understand insurance law. Your Honor, I've been practicing personal injury defense for 6 years. I've handled hundreds of cases. And I can tell you from extensive experience that I've seen countless plaintiffs exaggerate injuries for financial gain. Wheelchairs can be rented. Pain can be performed. There's even a medical term for it, litigation syndrome, where symptoms mysteriously worsen when a lawsuit is pending and magically improve once settlements are reached. The courtroom goes completely silent. Patricia's eyes fill with tears. Her hands grip the wheelchair armrests so tightly her knuckles turn white. In the gallery, her son starts to stand up, anger flashing across his face, but Bailiff Bird gives him a look that says sit down and let the judge handle this. Judge Judy removes her glasses slowly, deliberately. It's one of her signature moves, and court watchers know it means someone is about to get destroyed. Mr. Bellingham, are you suggesting that Ms. Henderson is faking paralysis? Liam, incredibly, doubles down. He's so confident in his legal theories, so sure of his intellectual superiority, that he cannot see the cliff edge he's walking toward. I'm suggesting, Your Honor, that her claimed level of disability seems remarkably convenient for her lawsuit. I've reviewed similar cases where individuals with comparable injuries showed dramatic recovery once financial settlements were reached. The human body is remarkably resilient, and the motivation of a substantial payout can be a powerful incentive for, shall we say, prolonged symptoms. Judge Judy leans forward, her voice becoming dangerously quiet. That's the voice everyone who watches her show recognizes. It's the calm before the storm. Ms. Henderson, would you attempt to stand for the court? Patricia looks shocked, then devastated. Your Honor, I can't. I've tried every single day for 8 months. Every morning I wake up hoping something has changed, hoping I'll feel something, anything. But I can't feel anything below my waist. I can't move my legs. I can't stand. Judge Judy's voice is gentle but firm. I understand, Ms. Henderson. But I'd like Mr. Bellingham to see for himself. Would you try for me? Patricia nods, tears now streaming down her face. She positions her wheelchair as close to the stand as possible. She grips the armrests with both hands, her arms shaking with effort. Her face contorts with determination and strain. She's trying with everything she has, every ounce of strength, every bit of willpower. The muscles in her arms flex. Her shoulders tense. Her whole upper body strains forward. But her legs don't move at all. They remain completely still, lifeless, unresponsive. The effort is excruciating to watch. This is a woman who wants desperately to prove she's not faking, who wants more than anything to stand up and walk away from that wheelchair. But she can't. After 30 seconds of trying, she collapses back into the wheelchair, sobbing. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I'm so sorry. I can't do it. I can't. And that's when it happens. That's the moment that will destroy Liam Bellingham's entire career. He lets out a short, derisive laugh. It's not a full laugh, just a chuckle, a scoffing sound accompanied by a head shake and an eye roll. And then he speaks, and these words will haunt him for the rest of his life. "Oh, come on. That's quite a performance." The courtroom absolutely erupts. People in the gallery jump to their feet shouting. Patricia's son yells, "How dare you? How dare you laugh at my mother?" Audience members are screaming at Liam, calling him heartless, cruel, a monster. Bailiff Bird moves quickly toward the gallery, trying to restore order. Even Liam's own client, the insurance company executive sitting behind him, looks absolutely horrified, his face pale, his mouth hanging open. He knows, in that instant, that his company just became liable for everything because his lawyer just committed professional suicide on national television. And Judge Judy stands up. She actually stands up from her bench, something she almost never does. Her face is red. Her eyes are blazing with fury. When she speaks, her voice shakes with barely controlled rage, and every word hits like a gavel strike. "Bailiff. Clear this courtroom. Everyone out except the parties, counsel, and my staff. Now." Bird moves immediately, ushering the shocked audience members out. They file out in stunned silence, many of them still staring at Liam with disgust and disbelief. Within 2 minutes, the gallery is empty. Only Liam, Patricia, the insurance executive, Bailiff Bird, the court stenographer, and Judge Judy remain. The doors close with a heavy thud that echoes in the now silent room. Judge Judy remains standing, her hands gripping the bench. When she finally speaks, her voice is low, controlled, but everyone can hear the fury beneath every syllable. In 30 years on the bench, Judge Judy begins, her voice shaking with controlled fury. "In family court, in criminal court, and in this courtroom, I have never, and I mean never, witnessed such disgusting, callous, inhumane behavior from an officer of the court. You just laughed at a disabled woman trying to stand. You laughed at her." Liam's confident smirk has completely vanished. For the first time since entering the courtroom, he looks genuinely worried. His face has gone pale, and he's gripping the edge of the defendant's table. "Your Honor, I didn't mean to, it was just, I was simply trying to." Judge Judy cuts him off with a hand raised so sharply it's like a physical slap. Don't you dare try to explain that away. I saw what I saw. This court saw what it saw. The cameras captured every second of it. And millions of people are going to see what they're about to see. You laughed at a woman in a wheelchair who was crying because she cannot stand. You laughed at her pain. You laughed at her disability. And you had the audacity to call her genuine suffering a performance. Liam tries again, his lawyer instincts kicking in, searching for any argument that might save him. "Your Honor, I apologize if my reaction was misinterpreted. I was simply expressing skepticism about, misinterpreted." Judge Judy's voice rises. "There's no interpretation needed, Mr. Bellingham. You laughed. Everyone heard it. The stenographer has it in the record. The cameras caught it. Your contempt for this woman is documented from every possible angle. Now sit down and be quiet while I decide what to do with you." Liam sits, and for the first time, he looks small. All that expensive education, all that corporate success, all that arrogance has evaporated, and what's left is a young man who just realized he made a catastrophic mistake. Judge Judy takes a deep breath, composing herself, and then turns to Patricia with an expression of genuine compassion. "Ms. Henderson, I want to apologize to you on behalf of this court. What you just experienced should never happen to anyone, least of all in a place where you came seeking justice. You displayed tremendous courage trying to stand when I asked you to, and I'm sorry that your effort was met with such cruelty." Patricia wipes her tears, nodding. "Thank you, Your Honor." Judge Judy continues, her voice firm and clear. "Now, let's talk about the actual facts of this case. facts that Mr. Bellingham seems to have forgotten exist. Your client, Mr. Hayes, ran a red light while texting and driving. The traffic camera footage is irrefutable. The police report states clearly that he admitted fault at the scene. Ms. Henderson was stopped lawfully at a red light when your client's vehicle struck hers at approximately 50 miles per hour. The impact was so severe that her car spun twice before colliding with a streetlight. She sustained life-altering injuries that have left her permanently disabled. She lost her career as a teacher, a profession she dedicated 27 years to. Her medical bills exceed $340,000 and will continue for the rest of her life. The liability here is absolute, complete, and unquestionable. Judge Judy looks directly at Liam. So explain to me, counselor, how your insurance company justified denying this claim. Liam clears his throat, trying to regain some composure. Your Honor, the insurance company's position is that we paid the immediate emergency medical expenses as required by law. The additional claims for ongoing care, loss of income, and pain and suffering are separate matters that we believe are inflated beyond reasonable compensation. We offered a settlement of, Judge Judy interrupts him. $500. You offered this woman $500 after your client destroyed her life. Liam shifts uncomfortably. The settlement offer was a starting point for negotiation, Your Honor. These cases typically involve back and forth discussions until we reach a reasonable middle ground. There is no middle ground between $500 and justice, Mr. Bellingham. There's no negotiation between human decency and corporate greed. Your client's insurance company collected premiums for years with the promise that they would provide coverage when needed. When that moment came, they sent you to humiliate and discredit the victim. How much does your firm charge per hour, Mr. Bellingham? Liam hesitates. That depends on the nature of the work, Your Honor. Answer the question. What's your billable rate? $450 per hour. Judge Judy's eyebrows rise. $450 per hour. So your insurance company client will pay your firm hundreds of thousands of dollars to fight paying this woman what she deserves. They'll spend more on legal fees trying to deny her claim than they would have spent just covering her medical care in the first place. Does that sound like reasonable business practice to you, counselor? Liam has no good answer. That's a business decision made by the insurance company, Your Honor, not by me personally. But you're the one who came into my courtroom, looked at a disabled woman, suggested she was faking her paralysis, called her suffering a performance, and then laughed when she couldn't stand. Those were your choices, Mr. Bellingham. Your personal choices. And you're going to face personal consequences for them. Subscribe to Judge Judy Justice if you believe lawyers who mock disabled victims deserve to face consequences. Because what Judge Judy does next isn't just a ruling, it's a complete dismantling of this man's arrogance. Judge Judy turns to her files, reviewing documents with deliberate slowness. The courtroom is so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Patricia sits in her wheelchair, exhausted from the emotional trauma of the last few minutes. Liam stands rigidly, his expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume, all flash with no substance. The insurance executive behind him is frantically typing on his phone, probably alerting his superiors that this case has become a public relations catastrophe. Finally, Judge Judy looks up, and her expression is one of absolute authority. Mr. Bellingham, I'm finding for the plaintiff, Ms. Patricia Henderson, in the amount of $5,000, the maximum I can award in this court. This judgment is against your client's insurance company, Consolidated National Insurance. But that's just the beginning of what's about to happen here. Liam visibly relaxes slightly. $5,000 is nothing to his client. He can write that check right now and walk out of here. He starts to reach for his briefcase. Your Honor, I'll prepare the check immediately and we can. I'm not finished, Judge Judy snaps. Sit down and shut your mouth. Liam freezes, then slowly sits back down. Judge Judy continues, her voice hard as steel. I'm also ordering Consolidated National Insurance to immediately reverse their denial of Ms. Henderson's full claim. That means complete medical coverage, past, present, and future. Every surgery, every doctor's appointment, every physical therapy session, every piece of medical equipment she needs for the rest of her life. Full coverage for loss of income based on her teaching salary and expected career trajectory until retirement age. Compensation for pain and suffering. Compensation for loss of quality of life. Compensation for the modifications she'll need to make to her home to accommodate her disability. Everything. And if Consolidated National Insurance does not comply with this order within 30 days, I'm forwarding this entire proceeding, including all video footage, to the New York State Department of Financial Services for investigation of bad faith insurance claim denial practices. The insurance executive actually gasps audibly. Judge Judy turns her attention to him. You represent Consolidated National Insurance, correct? The man stands quickly. Yes, Your Honor. My name is Robert Chen. I'm the Regional Claims Director. Mr. Chen, does your company intend to comply with this order? Chen looks at Liam, then back at Judge Judy. He's doing rapid calculations in his head, weighing the cost of compliance against the cost of the regulatory investigation, the negative publicity, and the potential class action lawsuits that could follow if this becomes a pattern and practice case. Your Honor, we will comply immediately. We sincerely apologize for how this case was handled. We never intended for Ms. Henderson to be treated with anything less than complete respect and dignity. Save your apologies, Mr. Chen. Your company sent Mr. Bellingham here to intimidate a disabled woman. You offered her $500 for life-altering injuries. You denied clear liability claims to save money. The only reason you're complying now is because you know I can make your regulatory life a nightmare. But fine. I'll accept your compliance. Sit down. Chen sits immediately, looking relieved to be out of the spotlight. But Judge Judy isn't done. Not even close. She turns back to Liam, and her expression becomes even more serious. Mr. Bellingham, you mentioned you went to Columbia Law School. Liam nods cautiously, unsure where this is going. Yes, Your Honor. I graduated in the top 10% of my class. Top 10%. Impressive. Tell me, did they teach you legal ethics at Columbia? Of course, Your Honor. It's a required course for all law students. And do you remember what you learned about professional responsibility? About an attorney's duty to maintain the dignity and integrity of the legal profession? Liam's face goes pale because he suddenly understands exactly where Judge Judy is going with this. Your Honor, do you remember learning that attorneys have an obligation to treat all parties with respect regardless of their circumstances? That mocking, belittling, or showing contempt for litigants is grounds for professional discipline. Judge Judy isn't done yet. She has one final element to add to Liam's sentence, and this one might be the most devastating of all. And there's one more thing, Mr. Bellingham. You mentioned during your apology that you hope to learn from this experience. Well, I'm going to make sure that learning happens in the most effective way possible. You're going to share your story. You're going to speak at law schools throughout New York State about what happened here today. You're going to stand in front of law students and explain exactly how your arrogance, your contempt, and your lack of compassion destroyed your career in 15 minutes. You're going to tell them about the moment you laughed at a disabled woman and how that single laugh cost you everything. Liam stares at Judge Judy in absolute horror. Public speaking at law schools. Your Honor, that's humiliation. Students will record it. It'll end up all over social media. Everyone in the legal community will see it. Mr. Bellingham, Judge Judy's voice is cold as ice. Humiliation is what you attempted to inflict on Ms. Henderson when you accused her of faking her disability in open court. What you're receiving now is called education. You're going to teach the next generation of lawyers what happens when someone forgets that the law is supposed to serve justice, not egos and corporate profits. Liam looks like he might actually collapse. His face is ashen, his hands gripping the table so hard his knuckles are white. But Judge Judy has saved her most powerful statement for last. She stands again, and when she speaks, her voice fills the entire courtroom with the weight of 3 decades of judicial authority. "Ms. Henderson," Judge Judy says, turning to Patricia with an expression of genuine respect. "I want you to know something important. You came into this courtroom today with dignity. Despite everything you've been through, despite the pain and the loss and the challenges you face every single day, you maintained your grace. You testified with honesty and courage. You tried to stand when I asked you to, even though it caused you emotional pain, because you wanted this court to see the truth. And even after Mr. Bellingham laughed at your disability, even after he showed you contempt and cruelty, you still found it in your heart to accept his apology with kindness. That takes a strength that most people, including me, don't possess." Patricia is crying again, but these are different tears. These are tears of validation, of being seen and heard and believed after months of being dismissed and doubted. Judge Judy continues, and her words are powerful enough to echo far beyond this courtroom. "You may have lost the use of your legs, Ms. Henderson, but you haven't lost what makes you truly remarkable. You haven't lost your humanity, your compassion, or your dignity. Those qualities don't come from physical ability. They come from character. And your character has been tested by tragedy and revealed to be absolutely unbreakable. You are a teacher, and today you taught everyone in this courtroom and everyone who will watch this footage a lesson about grace under pressure, about maintaining dignity in the face of cruelty, and about the difference between people who have strength and people who only have power." Patricia can barely speak through her tears. "Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for believing me. I believed you, Ms. Henderson, because the truth doesn't need to be performed. The truth simply is." Now Judge Judy turns back to Liam, and the temperature in the room drops 20 degrees. "Mr. Bellingham, you're going to walk out of this courtroom today on 2 perfectly functioning legs. You have mobility that Ms. Henderson would give anything to have back. You can stand, walk, run, climb stairs, all the things she can no longer do. But I want you to understand something crucial. You're leaving here with less than she has." The courtroom is absolutely silent. Every person present is hanging on Judge Judy's words. Because Ms. Henderson has integrity. She has compassion. She has courage and grace and the respect of everyone who has witnessed her testimony today. What do you have, Mr. Bellingham? You have a law degree from a prestigious university. You have an expensive suit and a luxury watch. You have 6 years of winning cases by intimidating victims and protecting corporations from accountability. But what good is any of that without character? What value does success have when it's built on cruelty? You're educated, Mr. Bellingham, but today you've proven that education without empathy is just sophisticated ignorance. You're successful in your career, but success without humanity is just expensive failure. You can cite legal precedents and argue insurance law, but you forgot the most fundamental principle that should guide every lawyer. The law exists to serve justice, and justice requires us to see the humanity in every person who comes before us, especially those who are vulnerable, hurting, and in need of protection. Liam is openly crying now, his professional facade completely shattered. Judge Judy delivers her final judgment. "Get out of my courtroom, Mr. Bellingham. Go home and think about what kind of lawyer you want to be. Think about whether you want to continue being the person who walked in here today, or whether you want to become someone who actually deserves the privilege of practicing law. The Bar Association will contact you regarding their investigation. The Brooklyn Center for Independence of the Disabled will contact you regarding your community service schedule. And law schools throughout New York will contact you regarding your speaking engagements. You have a long road ahead of you, counselor. I suggest you use that time wisely. Court is adjourned." The gavel comes down with a sharp crack that sounds like a door slamming shut on Liam Bellingham's old life. Bailiff Bird escorts him out of the courtroom, and Liam walks like a man in a daze, his expensive briefcase hanging limply from his hand, his shoulders slumped, his entire bearing transformed from arrogant confidence to devastated humiliation. The insurance executive, Robert Chen, rushes over to Patricia before leaving. "Ms. Henderson," he says quietly. "Consolidated National will process your full claim within the week. You have my personal commitment on that. And for what it's worth, I'm truly sorry for how you were treated. This should never have happened." Patricia nods, accepting his words with the same grace she's shown throughout this ordeal. 6 months later, the aftermath of that explosive courtroom moment has reshaped multiple lives in ways nobody could have predicted. Liam Bellingham was fired from Whitman and Associates within 48 hours of the episode airing. The managing partners released a statement saying his behavior was inconsistent with the firm's values and that they had terminated his employment effective immediately. The New York State Bar Association suspended his license to practice law for 2 years following a disciplinary hearing where the Judge Judy footage was played in its entirety. No other law firm in New York would hire him. His reputation was toxic, his name became synonymous with legal cruelty, and the video of him laughing at Patricia went viral with over 47 million views on YouTube alone. He became an international symbol of everything wrong with corporate defense law, a cautionary tale about what happens when lawyers forget that their clients are human beings, not case numbers. The last anyone heard, Liam was working as a contract document reviewer for $35 an hour, a 90% pay cut from his previous salary. His $45,000 watch was sold to pay bills. His luxury apartment was given up for a studio in Queens. His entire life was downsized to match the smallness of character he revealed in Judge Judy's courtroom. But Patricia Henderson's story took a very different trajectory. Consolidated National Insurance paid her full claim, a settlement of $2.3 million covering all medical expenses past and future, loss of income, pain and suffering, and quality of life damages. Patricia used a portion of that money to modify her home in Brooklyn for complete wheelchair accessibility. She installed ramps, widened doorways, renovated her bathroom, and created a space where she could live with independence and dignity. But she didn't stop there. Patricia took the experience of her own struggle and transformed it into purpose. She founded a nonprofit organization called Teachers on Wheels, dedicated to helping disabled educators continue teaching through adaptive technology and online platforms. The organization provides training, equipment, and support for teachers who have acquired disabilities and want to remain in the profession they love. Within 6 months, Teachers on Wheels was serving over 200 educators across 5 states, and Patricia became a nationally recognized advocate for disability rights in education. The Brooklyn Borough President presented her with a key to the city in recognition of her service and advocacy. She was invited to speak at Columbia Law School, Liam's alma mater, about disability rights and the importance of empathy in legal practice. Over 300 students attended her lecture, and she received a standing ovation. Her testimony before the New York State Legislature helped pass new legislation strengthening protections against insurance companies engaging in bad faith claim denials, particularly in cases involving catastrophic injuries. The bill, known as Patricia's Law, requires insurance companies to provide clear justification for any claim denial and establishes penalties for companies that engage in systematic denial practices to avoid payouts. Her son, inspired by his mother's courage and Judge Judy's defense of justice, graduated from law school and now works for a disability rights legal clinic, representing clients who face discrimination and fighting for accessibility accommodations. He says that watching his mother treated with cruelty and then seeing Judge Judy defend her dignity showed him exactly what kind of lawyer he wanted to become. Patricia still teaches, but now she does it through online courses designed for homebound and hospitalized students. She's developed a curriculum that reaches children who are too sick to attend traditional schools, kids fighting cancer, recovering from accidents, managing chronic illnesses. She brings education to students who thought their learning had to stop because of their medical challenges. Her virtual classroom has become a lifeline for dozens of families, and parents call her a miracle worker, though Patricia insists she's just doing what teachers do, showing up for students who need her. The Judge Judy episode featuring Liam Bellingham's meltdown became the most watched episode in the show's history, with over 14 million viewers tuning in for the original broadcast. It's been used in law school ethics courses at over 50 universities as a prime example of what happens when lawyers abandon professional responsibility. Bar associations across the country have incorporated clips from the episode into their professional development training programs. The moment when Liam laughed at Patricia has been analyzed in legal journals, discussed in ethics seminars, and debated in courtrooms as a clear illustration of conduct unbecoming an attorney. But beyond the legal analysis and professional consequences, the episode resonated with millions of ordinary people because it showed something rare and powerful. It showed a moment of true justice, where power couldn't protect cruelty, where wealth couldn't buy a way out of accountability, and where a person with a disability was defended, believed, and elevated by an authority figure who refused to let contempt go unchallenged. If this story moved you, if you believe that disabled victims deserve respect and dignity, share this video with someone who needs to see that justice still exists in this world. Like this video if you admire Patricia Henderson's grace in the face of cruelty and her transformation of suffering into service. Subscribe for more incredible stories where arrogance meets accountability and where the arc of justice, though sometimes slow, ultimately bends toward what's right. Judge Judy taught us something profound that day, something that extends far beyond courtroom procedure or legal precedent. She taught us that the law isn't just about statutes and insurance policies and settlement negotiations. The law is about human beings, about protecting the vulnerable, about ensuring that power and privilege don't become weapons against those who are already suffering. Liam Bellingham learned the most expensive lesson of his life, that your character is the only thing you truly own, and once you destroy it through cruelty and contempt, no amount of money or education or professional success can buy it back. Patricia Henderson showed us what real strength looks like, not the aggressive posturing of a lawyer trying to win at all costs, but the quiet dignity of a woman who maintained her humanity even when faced with mockery and disrespect. She couldn't stand on her legs that day in court, but she stood tall in every way that actually matters. That's justice. That's dignity. That's what happens when cruelty meets consequence and grace defeats arrogance. Remember Judge Judy's words. Education without empathy is just sophisticated ignorance. Success without humanity is just expensive failure. And power without compassion is nothing but cruelty wearing a suit. Patricia Henderson proved that strength isn't about what your body can do. It's about who you choose to be when everything is taken from you. Justice served. Dignity defended. Arrogance destroyed. That's justice.